Hey everybody, it's Dr. Vyvyane Loh and another round of live stream Q&A. There's a little bit of a playback. Carl, did you hear that? So a little bit of an audio problem because I'm hearing myself talk about 5 seconds later. I could just have a conversation with myself. Maybe it's the voices in my head. I often have conversations with the voices in my head. Yeah, it's a little hard to have, yeah, because of the voice playing back as I'm trying to speak. So maybe I'm not sure, Carl, if there's anything. Oh, that can happen with live stream. All right, well, okay, I'm gonna try and do this, and not listen to myself, hopefully. Hope you hear me while I'm talking. So I'm so loud in my own ear. Um, I'm gonna try and do this. Okay, please let this work. I think it worked. Phew. No, I'm hearing it twice again. All right. Does this work better? I'm going to try it without the headphones and see. I have a feeling. Okay. So I'm going to have to talk over myself. All right. If there's anyone else here. Oh, great. I can see already Maya, Mr. Blue. But do you guys hear this playback? Because I'm not sure what you guys can hear. I'm hearing my own echo. So can you let me know if you're hearing me twice? Because I can definitely even hear myself twice. This okay, so I'm in a new location. I'm not sure what happened. And oh, okay, Mr. Blue doesn't hear it. Okay, so then thank you. So I'll just talk over myself because I'm hearing myself. I'm just gonna try to ignore myself. It's probably very good practice, okay? Hi, Jean. So, all right, nice to see everyone. How are you doing? Um, just so I don't have to talk so much because I'm hearing my own voice very loudly. Tell me if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to chat about, and I'll do my best to ignore. Okay, I hope someone's typing away madly because I don't know how I'm going to do this. It works soft echo. It's really loud and mm, right here in front of me talking to you. So anyway, um, maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the more recent episodes on atherosclerosis. Oh, endometriosis. So, okay, is there anything in specific that you want to discuss, Mr. I think, yeah, it's been a bit of a mystery to people, endometriosis, and sometimes you hear that diagnosis being thrown around a lot without really any concrete ways to diagnose. um, You know, I think a lot of people get that label without um, really knowing if they have it or not. It's very frustrating. And Jean, you say that the let me get this. Jean is saying the audio gets cut off, so I hope this is better. I'm using the headphones again since it's just as noisy with or without for me. Right. So I'm not sure if there's anything specific to endometriosis, Mr. Blue, that you want me to discuss. Uh, okay, so you're saying the prevalence seems insane, and it's curious because this tissue can apparently travel all over the place, even as far as the lungs in some cases. Yeah. And I think that that's the hard part, right? Is that at the same time that we make diagnoses without seeing anything concrete, right? Sometimes we can actually find the tissue, right, in all these other organs. So, what exactly is going on? I'm not so sure. Um, you know, it's it makes me think of macrophages and adhesions. So there are these peritoneal macrophages we call GATA6 macrophages. Very interesting because they're actually involved in forming adhesions. And adhesions are scar tissue that normally occur after any kind of trauma. So, for example, classically, when someone has had surgery, a surgeon has gone in there and maybe made some snips and cuts here and there and just handled the insides, right, your innards, and then closed you up. Over time, some of the damaged areas within the peritoneum will start to heal, but in doing so, they may form scar tissue that we call adhesions. And really, used to be a huge mystery. We didn't know how they were formed, but it turns out that it's actually the SCADA6 macrophages that kind of float around in the peritoneal fluid. And it sounds almost incredible, but this is what they do. They pretty much form a bridge, right? And then they start to make these fibrin strands, and they end up being, fibroblasts in the end, and then they form this um, fibrotic tissue, which causes the adhesions. And Mr. Blue is asking, do you think because there's a lot of stem cells in that tissue? I think that's possible. It's tied strongly to excess estrogen, and if that's another metabolic issue. I think it's certainly possible. The question is, how does the tissue travel, right? Because if it were just within one location, I think we could say, yeah, maybe we have more stem cells there, and under the influence of excess estrogen, have more growth of this endometrial tissue. But the fact, as you pointed out, that it's gone to different areas, the big question is, how did it travel? Right? And I think that's the mystery of it. And I'm wondering, therefore, if there's again any involvement of the immune system. So, I think you picked something that I haven't spent a lot of time looking at. And in fact, I am just trying to pull from my memory because I read somewhere. Oh, okay, here it is. That's why I brought up the peritoneal macrophages because I was like, I know it's got to do with GATA6. So this is from Internal Journal of Molecular Science 2021.
and it's called The Role of Peritoneal Macrophages in Endometriosis, right? And um, basically, again, I think it's part of this healing response that we see with the um, adhesions, and this might be happening with endometrial tissue. This is again something I haven't spent this. I was pulling this from my memory, and certainly right at this point, but I have to go back and look at that, and maybe I'll just do another episode on macrophages, but this time on endometriosis. So that's a good topic. So I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, any chance I had to discuss macrophages is um, there's very little research on it. It's so widespread, and you're surprised there's not much work being done on it, and it's just accepted as one of those essential conditions, just like dysmenorrhea, right? Painful periods. Oh well, grin and bear it, deal with it, right? So I think that that might be part of it. And also, like I said, it's so hard to actually make that diagnosis. A lot of times, I think it's a diagnosis that's guessed at and not really pinned down. And, people don't quite know how to explain the symptoms. And then the word endometriosis gets thrown out. So it's really hard to nail that diagnosis down, I think. And then Maya is asking me to talk about late onset autoimmune diabetes. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're saying in adulthood, right? And again, trying to not hear the voice in my head. Yeah. Um, I'm sorry if I sound a little bit disjointed today, but I'm managing the conversations on the screen, but at the same time, I have to deal with the voice in my head. So let me go and finish off with Mr. Blue about how we can't confirm without laparoscopy for endometriosis. And that's true. But many times I've seen where someone had a negative laparoscopy and still it was deemed to be probable endometriosis. So, like I said, it's tough because I see a lot of people with that diagnosis and we're not even sure if it's endometriosis, that we don't actually see endometrial tissue outside of the uterus, right? So that's one thing. Late onset autoimmune diabetes, and certainly, Maya, most of the autoimmune type of diabetes tend to be in much younger kids. And I think the late onset is similar in the sense that it probably also has some issues with the gut and the gut microbiome. A lot of times with type 1 diabetics, before the onset of full blown diabetes, most people tend to have some kind of viral illness that maybe runs a couple of weeks, and then so some kind of GI, virus or GI symptoms, and then several weeks later, bang, they get the disease, right? So I think that certainly it's responding to maybe changes in the gut microbiome. This is really hard to do, talking against myself. And other fibers with type 1 diabetes. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm getting a message from Carl that StreamYard, which is what I stream these live streams from, is very strange today. So, all right. So I am going to do my best, guys. But it's like really echoing in my ear. And I'm kind of disjointed. But if there's anything specific, Maya, that you want me to discuss with regard to autoimmune diabetes, I'd be happy to. One thing I want to point out before we go on is something that I don't think I spent a lot of time uh, delineating in previous episodes, right? Autoimmune versus auto-inflammatory, and I think we need to just have a few seconds on this, right? Because sometimes people read auto-inflammatory as autoimmune, and certainly a lot of times you can have both going on, and also oftentimes, um, you're going to have one start off the process, and then you have the other one join in as well. And auto inflammation is actually very, very common. So most times we are probably having auto-inflammatory reactions in our body. When we say auto-inflammatory, we are talking about the innate immune system. Innate, innate, innate. This means primarily macrophages, right? But any of the other innate cells as well. Okay. But when we say autoimmune, then we're really involving the lymphocytes, which are part of the adaptive immune system, right? So when we say someone has autoimmune disease, then we're really talking about, epitopes and antigen that they're reacting against. And when we say they have autoinflammation, they have PAMs and DAMs, which I keep mentioning in the episodes, pathogen-associated molecular patterns and also danger-associated molecular patterns that your body is reacting to, so you stimulate an innate response. So I mean, we do have a lot of autoinflammation going on at any point in time, and chronic autoinflammatory situations can then eventually lead to autoimmune situations. Okay, I hope I made that clear. Okay. Any questions about that, or any other specific questions? I'm trying to hope. I hope you guys can hear me clearly because I can't. Any other specific questions? I'm trying. I know I probably look like I'm staring in the screen, but honestly, it's very active here. My voice echoes about 5 seconds after I speak. So even as I'm speaking, the voices are going on in my head. And I promise the voices are always there, but they're not quite that loud usually. All right. Uh, any other thoughts, questions? And I actually may have to do a shorter live stream today, just because I uh, I don't know how much of a conversation we can have. Well, okay. One other thing, while you guys are thinking about it, I just had a thought about um, what I put out in my last episode, which was whether I should just move um, the LMD rounds to a once a month format. Association of cereals and other fibers with the onset of type 1. That actually, I haven't looked at, Mr. Blue, so I'll definitely look at that. Um, I haven't specifically looked at type 1 in association with gliadin. So, oh, okay. So Mr. Blue has put it out there that it's in JAMA 2019 and other places. So definitely go look that up. Thank you. Um, so do you think, Mr. Blue, it'd be better to just do the LMD rounds once a month and then maybe do it a longer episode once a month, something like that? I don't know. I'm just toying with that. There's no episode coming out tomorrow, by the way. It's my first weekend off in. Oh, it wasn't a weekend off because I had many other things to do, but it was a weekend off from the podcast. That's all I can say. Oh, it wasn't a weekend off. Many other things to do, but it was a weekend. Gene, what do you think? Should I go to once a month and just maybe do longer episodes? I've been struggling with a long, short format, and Nobody's really kind of given me any indication which is preferable. Hmm. I guess people are thinking, "Oh, you think that's fine? Yeah, okay." Mr. Blue says you like the longer format. I have to say, the longer formats are less stressful for me. The 30-minute ones, I feel like, "Oh, man, I have to leave out a ton of important stuff," and then I just feel like I'm rushing, and then in the end, I'm like, "But I didn't make this point, I didn't make that point, and what they really needed to do was this and that and this and that," and so, yeah. And then, oh, bi-weekly? Okay, that's another option. I was thinking of doing a second format once a month as well. So so this would be a more for a general audience so that it's not as technical. And then once a month, I can go really technical and do like an hour or more if I wanted to, right? Like you're saying, you think 30 minutes is not enough. I totally agree because doing those 30-minute episodes, each time I had to sit down and say, give myself 3 points and 3 points only. But to make those 3 points well, a lot of times I felt like I needed to explain a lot of other stuff, right, before actually making those 3 points. So, for example, the one on atherosclerosis and tuberculosis, I wonder what people thought of that one because I think for some people that might have just come out of the blue. But the truth is that there's so much similarity between the two disease processes, not the disease, but the disease processes, especially with regards to the immune reaction, that I thought it was really important to look at because we're trying to understand atherosclerosis. I think one of the parts that has been a bit of a puzzle has been the actual disease process. And if we look at TB, which forms caseating granulomas, you could just basically say the atheroma is a specific form of a caseating granuloma, right? So Mr. Blue is saying that he thinks that if people will sit for 30 minutes, they're probably going to sit for the hour. I hope that's true. Um, but it does give me a lot more time to just kind of go into things in depth, right? And I really, yeah, I really wanted to kind of drive home more of the similarities between tuberculosis and atherosclerosis and how MTB really exploits cholesterol metabolism. Um, I think in the episode I mentioned that used lipid metabolism, but it really does exploit cholesterol metabolism, specifically with interferons, right? So that it gives it a survival advantage within the granuloma, right? And specifically because it was so good at utilizing cholesterol to rev up the immune system in its favor, I thought that it was actually a really good comparison with atherosclerosis. And I think that there's a lot we can learn, a lot more we can learn about atherosclerosis if we were to study tuberculosis a lot more. Yeah. Okay. Um, Maya, what other questions might you have? Yeah, I'm like calling on people because I don't want to hear my own voice in my head. So help me out here. I'm waiting because if I talk too much. My head is going to explode. I just, while we're waiting for people to type in their comments, and if there's anyone else lurking, please let us know you're there. Put out your name and maybe where you're joining us from. I had just gotten someone's DEXA, and it was a 2-month period. She lost weight, but sadly, all the weight she lost was lean mass, and she was, I think, I think she was probably a little surprised, but she wasn't getting the protein she needed, so I'm not that surprised. So Jean is asking me to talk about homocysteine, and I will. But I think I'm gonna save that because Jean, I didn't forget some of your requests. So I know you because you've asked me to talk about metformin, berberine, and now homocysteine, right? I actually have it in my head what people have asked me to do. Is I, I I have a running list in my head, so I always feel guilty when I haven't gotten to people's requests. But it's just like my life feels a little bit like the voices in my head right now. I'm just thinking, "Oh my god, this is what people hear when I'm talking to them." So that's what I'm hearing right now. This is a little bit crazy, folks. I think you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, you put down homocysteine. Mr. Blue put down endometriosis. Maya put down autoimmune diabetes, right? Late onset. So throw out any more topics that you want, and I will keep that in my head, and then I will keep this live stream short because I don't think I can get much done with with this with this voice, this monologue that I'm hearing. How about an AMA? Okay, I'm not sure what an AMA like against medical advice. That's what an AMA is for us. Oh, he wants to go AMA, he wants to go against medical advice. So help me out, Mr. Blue. AMA, ask me anything. Okay, quite different from against medical advice. Ask me anything. So it's funny. It's funny you said that because the other format that I was considering, right? Keep the LMD rounds for once a month, do a longer episode, and then also once a month, I was going to have something called asking for a friend. So almost like ask me anything, asking for a friend. So you can ask me anything medically related, no matter how embarrassing, because you're only asking for a friend, right? So that was my plan to do a second, kind of format for that. What do you think about that, Mr. Blue? Oh, I'm seeing. Oh, we can learn more about Dr. Loh. Okay, ask me anything. Sure, we can do a few minutes of ask me anything right now. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, okay. I don't ask me anything. Okay, I might regret this. Uh, I'm holding my breath. Be kind. Asking for a friend is great. Yeah, I definitely want to do something fun like that. But yeah, I thought that that would help because sometimes people want to know about some medical condition or maybe how to read a certain lab test or how to interpret something, but they're maybe too embarrassed to ask for themselves. So asking for a friend is a great way to do it, right? I just want to put it out there too that um, okay, Dr. Low, married kids besides dance martial arts. No kids, not married. Dance martial arts. Actually, dance consumes me. I have been doing 7 classes a week, but it's probably going to 8, 12. It's probably going to 12 um, in the next few weeks. So that kind of consumes most of my time. Um, Most times that I'm not working late at night, I'll do a double class. So that's uh, 2 1.5 hour classes. So that goes to 3 hours, right? And that's been a struggle. I won't lie because I feel very guilty because I finish late. I'll finish, I think well, we used to finish at 10 for one of our classes, but we've gone to finish at 9:30. We started earlier. But the problem is it's really hard to unwind after you've been so revved up. So it takes me a long time to fall asleep. And so and then all night, I keep waking up and going over choreography in my head. So it's actually disturbed my sleep quite a bit. And for that reason, I feel a little guilty because I keep telling people that they need to get their sleep in. Favorite travel destinations and favorite foods. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Favorite travel destinations. I like sort of off the beaten path places. I haven't traveled a huge amount in the last 8 years, but some of the places that I've gone to that I had absolutely loved Nepal, the Amazon region in Brazil. Um, I love the Lake District in England, and I would love to visit Bhutan. Um, and of course, everybody who knows me will know that I want to go to Madeira, which is an island off the coast of Portugal. So it's kind of an inside joke. I always say, "Okay, I got to make it to Madeira." Um, it's just this destination I have in my head. Oh, you were in the UK. Where were you? I did my A levels in the UK in Canterbury, and so of course, Canterbury is lovely, but I really particularly love the Lake District. There's something about I think at the time that I visited the Lake Districts, I was really into the romantic poets, so Wordsworth and so forth. So that gave me a lot of reading material when I was there. This was when I was in high school and also early college. Yeah, you were layover in Portugal. So where in Portugal? Um, Brazil, I love. It's a beautiful country, and also it helps because I am able to speak Portuguese. I have been I have been to Portugal. I think most people understood me. I just don't think I understood them as well because the accent is quite different, right? And then sometimes I've spoken to people from Cape Verde or from the Azores, and the accent is very different, and I have no idea what they're saying. Oh, Jean, favorite book. Let's just say favorite books. Okay, so just off the top of my head, 100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Also, Waiting for the Barbarians, J.M. Coetzee, and I love the works of Ismail Kadare. He's an Albanian writer, and um, There's a few other people that I love. Who's the guy who wrote Cloud Nine? David Mitchell, was it the last name? Yeah, I love his work. So there's quite a few people. But favorite book of all time. So quite a few people. I would say I would probably say the Bhagavad Gita. I which is from the Mahabharata, which is like this massive Indian epic. Um, within that epic is a chapter that's kind of probably one of the most well-known sections of the Mahabharata, and that's the Bhagavad Gita. Portuguese. Yeah, the Brazilian Portuguese are a lot more, melodic, I think, and it's softer, right? The consonants are a lot softer. The continental Portuguese tends to have harder consonants, so that I think you're right, more Germanic, because I think you hear the hard consonants. That's Mr. Blue. Um, yeah, okay, you guys are throwing everything at me, right? I went through favorite books. I went through hobbies, and really it's just dance. Mostly, I am doing now different genres from what I learned when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, it was mostly ballet, some jazz, and then throughout college, um, it was mostly modern and African. Okay, and really in the last year and a half, I just kind of have done something completely new to me. So I started with hip hop, um, and then what they call street style, or there's so many names for it. Open commercial style. Um, I did a locking workshop with Carl, who helps me out with the podcast, and that was a whole lot of fun. And now I want to do more locking. I would like to do more popping. I'm not good at it. I have to practice popping. Um, and what else? Um, Heels. I'd like to do more heels. So those are the added classes that I'll probably do um, once this these next few weeks are over. Okay. Anything else? I'll give you guys free reign to ask me anything, like Mr. Blue said, for the next 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. Right? Popping and locking. That's all I can do. I want to do more. I wish I could do more. The hip hop. I love the hip hop as well. Okay, any other questions? Don't ask about favorite foods. I don't know if I have a favorite food. I used to love mangoes, and I still think I haven't had a mango in I don't know how many years. Um, I can't think of a favorite food. Gina's asking me favorite song. I have so many favorite songs right now in my head. I guess I love the I love, listening to lyrics, right? And any well-written lyrics are always gonna draw my attention. So anything by Paul Simon, um, I love the some of the lyrics that the Beatles have done. So kind of very old school, but you know, the lyricism is really important to me. So I really like Paul Simon's work too. Am I a daredevil motorcycle? I am not. I'm a real scaredy cat. So I don't even like going upside down, and I don't like heights. So, like even doing a cartwheel, I can do one, a decent one, but I don't love doing it because I just don't move. But the thing is, if you ask my friends, they'll probably say that, "Oh, she's game for anything." And I think it's that I'm one of those people, um, I like to try things out and I go, "Oh, why not? Let's just go see what we can learn," right? But generally, I'm probably not gonna put myself at physical body at risk. So no skydiving, you are correct. I would not skydive. I would not go on a roller coaster. This is the thing. Why? Why would I pay money to like pee in my pants? Like, why would I do that? I'm like, why am I paying? I won't even go to a horror movie. Okay. That's the other thing with those horror movies. You pay good money to be scared out of your skin, right? And I'm just like, why do I need that? That is too stressful, right? And then it's I don't know if it's just the scary part of horror movies that gets me. It's the part where you're yelling at them, "Don't open the closet, don't go there, don't," and then they open the closet and you're like, "I told you, don't go there." That kind of thing, right? That's the part that stresses me out because everybody tells them, "Oh, you don't wanna go there. You don't wanna go into that house." And then they go into the house, and this is the kind of behavior I go, "Huh? Really?" But there would be no movie without it, right? So so yeah, so it's interesting the questions that I'm getting asked, right? These are the things we need to know. Yep, okay. Yeah, well, I guess you know, I think that I'm a pretty regular person, but sometimes, probably my friends would say I'm a little weird, okay? So, for example, I don't have a living room. It looks more like a dance space slash gym, right? Because I don't really need a living room, right? And I'd rather have a space that I'm gonna use more, right? So I don't have a living room, dining room, got rid of that, right? And for the longest time, I didn't have a sofa because I never sit on a sofa, right? So why would I need that? So, I've never actually had a TV. I've had a TV given to me, and I've used it for things like protecting slides, but, never really watched TV except as a kid. I had to watch TV as a kid because my mother made me watch TV once a week so that I could sit there and watch TV with the rest of the family and be social with the rest of the family. Because most of the time I was sort of buried in a book and reading, right? And that was the thing, my childhood was spent dodging my mother and, because I was always reading and they thought I should be otherwise engaged, mostly studying. But I had this thing where I had a book in every room. And so whatever room I was in, I'd be reading that book until I heard someone coming and then I'd hide it. And then I'd go to the next room and then pull out the book and start reading until, let's say someone was coming again, one of my parents coming into my room, and then I'd shove it in there. The one time it didn't work out so well was in the kitchen, and I shoved the book in the oven and then forgot about it, and then someone turned on the oven and kind of burned the book. So that's kind of how I grew up. Almost started a fire. All right. I hope that's not too much information, but it was fun. I think it was funny seeing what kind of questions you guys have for me. All right. And then from now on, we're just going to go back to macrophages. And now you can see why I love macrophages because they're just as crazy as me. They're just as weird. Um, and they're just kind of unwieldy somehow. So I love that. Okay, folks, thanks for making this a really fun session and making me laugh because it's been a long day. I spent 12 hours moving because I am in the process of moving my office space. So I'm in a new space temporarily. Um, I'm trying to like settle in, right? So we'll figure it out. But I really needed that bit of fun, and you guys made me laugh. So thank you very much. And I will, I will, I think adopt the format that you suggested, Mr. Blue. I think I'm going to go to once a month and have a longer session and do a deep dive into something, and and then have asking for a friend once a month as well. So if you have any asking for a friend questions for me, please send them to me. All right, all of you. Thanks, all of you. It was really fun. Big hug. See you next time. Bye.